There we go. All right. Well, thank you for coming out tonight on your, I guess, busy week to the meeting tonight. We're going to talk about Winter Guard, and it was I guess, the first thing to go down as a result of the COVIDs at most an unfortunate time. And so I'm the most excited for this activity to be back rolling again, because it signifies a pretty big milestone just in the life of our schools, and hopefully in the life of our students as well. So if you don't know me, I'm Mr. Long. I'm the band director at Etowah High School. I work real close with Mr. Johnson at the middle school. And I'm very busy because I have a lot of students who are really successful in a lot of different places in a lot of different ways. But there's also a team of people that help make sure that things get done and assist me. So we're going to introduce them to you tonight. But I'm very, very excited about this. Hopefully you were able to find fairly easily the new Winter Guard website. Trying to find ways to make it easier to engage with parents, especially those who aren't already in the program, because that's a recruiting tool, right? If you can't find something, you tend to give up and not participate in it, even though you might have wanted to. And so we're trying to find ways to make it easier to locate information and access that information as well, so folks can see if they're interested in it and get connected into it. So I'm going to share my screen with you. Let's see. I'm getting better at this, but it's still a struggle sometimes. All right, there's that. And I actually want to show you the website real quick. So if you go just to ehseagleband.org, it comes up looking like this with our seniors right at the top. Fantastically like this. And there's a lot of information here, things going on like raffle tickets and spiritware and COVID research and how to make payments for things, donations. So if you know somebody who's got money burning a hole in their pocket, we could always use it. You can find the Guard page from About over here, and then there's the Winter Guard link. You can also just type into your address bar ehseagleband.org/winter-guard. It brings you to the same place. We're really going to try and have this as one of our 2 outlets of information for Winter Guard. As you can see, there's our graphic we put out about auditions here that'll be coming up in December, as well as a video kind of about what is Winter Guard. So if you got a friend, you've been talking to Winter Guard and they're like, what is that? They may think that it's more of the ROTC style with the rifles and the uniforms, and this will give you an opportunity. It kind of goes through some good video footage of different things. There's a registration link there, and then some new information about payments and stuff that we're going to talk about tonight. ET booth folks are going to need to take a look here towards the top with all these forms, because you'll need all of those. The high school students can do that through Canvas, and we'll talk about that later. Information on registration, financial information, links to stuff there, and then some county paperwork we've got to publish for you about sudden cardiac arrest, our infectious disease plan as a county, our COVID monitoring form, and then if you need insurance, like you don't have health insurance yourself, you have to have some kind of insurance for athletics for Cherokee County. There's a way to buy it basically kind of by the month or by the week or by the day even. So you can check that brochure out there and get that set up for that. So just want to make sure that you saw our website and kind of how that works. You can also join our band group. If you're selected for the squads, that'll be a place to see your schedule, be able to communicate with the coaches and the sponsors to make sure that you know what's going on, uniforms, makeup, different things that you may need, adjustments to schedule. And of course, with coronavirus, things are always changing. So that gives us an avenue to be able to communicate really quickly and effectively there as well. So let's head back over here to the PowerPoint, because that will help keep us on track. Otherwise, Mr. Long talks way too much. So this is our interest meeting for Winter Guard, and that includes our ET booth folks. We saw a big uptick in all of our groups last winter. They were doing really, really well. We had a number of guys join us, which was fantastic. We've talked about trying to find out how to involve gentlemen in our activity. And we had a number of fellas show up and spend with us. They do really well. So if you know some guys that are kind of apprehensive about spinning, have them come at least to the clinics and the audition and give it a shot. It's a lot of fun. Yeah, it's dance and all that kind of stuff. There's a lot of muscle needed for it. And you get a chance to perform and have people applaud for you when you do a good job. So that was a real fun thing to see last year too. All right, as far as our Winter Guard staff, I'm the head of the program, I guess you could say. I have, like I said, a great team of folks that help me out. So usually if you ask me, so what specific thing about color guard, I'm going to say you need to go ask Miss Hackney, or you need to go ask Miss Bowman, or you need to go ask Paige, or you need to go ask Miss Calderon, or you need to go ask Miss Bethany, because I don't know, because we're running a whole bunch of stuff at one time. So I just want to kind of round robin and give folks a chance to say hello. So Miss Hackney, do you want to say hey to everybody?
Hi, good evening, everybody. If you don't know, I'm Vanessa Hackney. I teach 7th grade ELA at ET Booth during the day and head over to Etowah and assistant band direct in the evening, I guess you'd say.
Yep.
So we're excited to be here. Love that you guys are all here tonight. Thanks for coming out.
Awesome. Miss Bowman is actually, well, Miss Hackney's also in school. She's finishing up her specialist, I believe, right? Like this week, I think, or next week?
Tomorrow.
I
defend tomorrow.
So good luck with that. I know that's a big milestone for you. And Miss Bowman's also in school right now, furthering her education. And she may pop in real quick here in a minute because she's in the middle of class from, I think it was like 6 o'clock to 8 o'clock or something really long like that. And then we've got Miss Cormany, Miss Page, who's our head guard coach. You want to say hey to everybody, Paige?
Hello. Hi, my name is Paige. I'm excited to be back again. I've really enjoyed working at Etowah for like, I don't even know how many years. It's been like quite a while, maybe like 4 or 5, I'm not really sure. And I'm just excited to be working with you guys. And I've also marched Paramount of several, this is gonna actually be my 4th year, 2 years on Open, and then now it's gonna be my 2nd year on World. And I also marched a little bit of drum corps with Alliance and all like this jazz. And I'm just really excited to continue working with you guys because you guys are like stupid talented and really, really good. And I'm just excited to continue to grow the program. So that's
She's also an alumni of our program too. So she's also an Etowah Eagle, which is really cool.
Anyways, sorry.
That's awesome. And as you can see, TBA weapons coach, we had a line on a talented individual and that did not pan out. And we were really close to finishing that up. So I didn't want to throw out a hypothetical name, but we'll announce that for you guys as soon as we have that nailed down. But I know I've been talking with Paige the last couple of days about that. We got it narrowed down to 2 folks. We just need to finalize and then get the county paperwork turned in so they can be official, and we'll make sure and introduce them to you guys as soon as that happens. Next up is when we will practice, and I'm going to turn it over because everybody started hearing me talk to Miss Hackney to kind of talk about rehearsal schedules here. And this, of course, is written down on our PowerPoint, which is already posted to the website if you need to reference this again later.
All right. Well, as you can see, practice is going to be a little different this year for those veterans that we have coming and for our cadet veterans. We're kind of changing the way that our program looks a little bit this year. In the past, we've had a high school group and then a middle school known as a cadet group. And the cadet group was usually, again, it was just those 6th, 7th, and 8th graders. What we're going to change to this year is we're going to have a high school squad, a varsity squad, and a JV squad. The JV will be made up of both high school and middle school students. Again, giving us the opportunity to grow, to learn more skills and more technique from each other, and then also move up within our circuit that we perform in, which is known as SAPA. You'll hear us reference SAPA a lot tonight. As far as rehearsal, it's very important because we're not just a, like softball or baseball or something where we just, 11 people on the field, football at one time. If there's someone missing, you can tell in the entire show. So it's very important that everyone plan to attend all rehearsals unless there's some sort of obvious, extenuating circumstance or something. So it's always good to know ahead of time when we're going to rehearse. We're going to do our audition clinic on December 2nd and 3rd from 4:30 to 6:30 in the ET booth cafeteria. So our high school folks will come over into the cafeteria, the bus lanes where the ET booth buses are. After the buses leave, you'll come over and we'll have the doors open there outside the cafeteria for you to come in and check in, and we'll get started on those clinics. Everybody will do the clinics together, and then we'll have the actual tryouts on December 4th, beginning at 4:30, and then those will run until the auditions, their tryout is actually finished. We'll actually begin rehearsals and practices on Monday, December 7th, and Wednesday, December 9th. So we will practice on Mondays and Wednesdays. The 7th, the 9th, the 14th, and the 16th will be our December dates. That will be in the ET booth cafeteria. If you make the JV squad, you will be practicing from 4:30 to 6:15 p.m. And then parents will pick up for our middle school folks or our non-driving high school folks. Parents will need to pick up outside the cafeteria there in the bus lanes. And then our varsity guard will rehearse from 6:30 to 8:30 p.m. And same thing there as far as picking up promptly at that time. We will start, break for the holidays, and then January 5th, every Monday and Wednesday there in the ET booth cafeteria with those same times. There are a few Saturday rehearsals that we will have throughout the season. Usually we do one a month, sometimes two in February as we work up towards competitions. Once we know what our competition dates are, we'll get those dates on the calendar and get those to you as soon as possible, so that you can go ahead and get those on your calendar. This year,
we'll know those dates pretty soon too.
Right. And so all rehearsals and competitions, our competitions are on Saturdays, so we will know what those are as well. In the past, in a traditional season, you can usually plan for competition to be an all-day event, but SAPA has some changes for safety protocols and with COVID protocol, so it will be a little bit different, and we'll get to that as we talk about our competitions. But I always tell our guard members, just block the whole day. Same for parents. Just block the whole day for that. Don't say, oh, well, we perform at 2, I can schedule work at 5. Doesn't usually work out that way. So as with any performance of anything, especially when you have several groups going at once, you can get off schedule, and there could be things out of our control that could hinder that. So on our competition and our rehearsal days, just go ahead and put those on your calendar and plan to be there. If there's something that comes up, obviously communication would be key, and you'd be communicating with Ms. Bowman and I, as well as Ms. Page, on if something like that comes up on an individual basis. Anything I'm forgetting, Mr. Long, Page?
I just know it's very important that you're at those competitions and those rehearsals. Like I said, with the percussion folks, the rehearsals built to the competitions. If you miss competitions, for me, that just feels like you're missing all the fun that happens. I mean, there's a lot of fun that happens at the rehearsals because that's where all the bonding and jokes and fun times happen. But all the hard work is for those competitions. And so you really miss out on a big portion of the season by missing those. And then rehearsals make sure that you are prepared for those competitions. So you know your part well enough to be confident. So you know where you're supposed to be. So you feel confident in that and have the best performance possible. That doesn't mean that rehearsals are all that it takes to be good at Winter Guard. You definitely have to practice on your own at home too, to build that confidence. But rehearsals and competitions are super crucial. And there's drill. There's movements that you have to make on the floor. And if somebody's missing, it makes it real hard for everybody else to learn. So it doesn't necessarily hinder your learning, but absences hinder everybody else's learning as well. And obviously there are things that happen with coronavirus. I know there's things that we're going to have to figure out there this year. And just people get sick. It's wintertime. People get pretty bad colds, strep throat, flu, all those kinds of different things happen anyway. And so if you can communicate with us ahead of time as best as possible, it helps Paige in setting up what her goals are for rehearsals. If she knows some folks are going to be out and that are really integral in a certain section, maybe she decides to run that a different day. So everybody gets the most out of those. So the biggest thing is just communicate with Miss Hackney and Miss Bowman and Miss Page as much as you can. The band app group for Color Guard will be a good way to do that, or just send them an email. It's real easy. If it's an honest thing, there's not going to be a judgment zone for that. If you just flat skip rehearsal or communicate well after it, it's a little harder to work around. So communicate as soon as you know there's an issue, and there are emergencies, so just let us know as soon as you can. All right. This one's about what forms do I need in order to participate. These are on that website I showed you. Students have to have a current Cherokee County physical, consent, and release packet. It's a pretty long and hefty packet on file. This can be completed for high school students via Canvas. There's a new course card now for those students for athletics. The doctor portion of the physical is located on the Winter Guard website, which has to be done paper copy because the doctor has to actually sign it. ET booth students, you won't have access to that because you're not at Etowah. I did try and see if there was a way to invite you to that, but they were not able to give us an answer for that. So they just sent us the hard copy documents, and that was those 4 or 5 files that are linked there at the beginning of that forms section of the website. There's Appendix J, which is the student code of conduct. There's the sudden cardiac arrest, the consents and releases and that parents, that's, you're authorizing us to take care of your children. You're authorizing us to take your kids to competitions. There's a number of things in there. It asks for insurance information for our ET booth parents. I will say the reason why I like the Canvas card is because there's a lot of hidden signatures inside the packet. So Etowah or ET booth folks, look really close. There's places where your student needs to sign. There's places where you need to sign, and they're not always super obvious. So make sure you look it over before you turn it in. Ms. Hackney, Ms. Bowman, and myself will double check those to make sure they're complete. If you already have one turned in because you're participating with, say you marched with us this fall, or you participated in a sport that required you to turn all this in at ET booth, you should be okay, but just double check and make sure you know where that is so you can let us know where to go find that information. If you were in the marching band this fall, we already have that in our hands. The next bullet point here is new. Students must have a current CCSD COVID waiver on file with the EHS Band Association. Again, if you march this fall, I apologize if you can hear my dogs. They decided to get noisy. Those who marched this fall already turned this in, so you're good. But if you're jumping in brand new or you're at ET booth and didn't get a chance to do anything this fall, you need to make sure that you have that CCSD COVID waiver, and that is a paper document. It basically makes sure that you understand the necessities of the infectious disease protocol plan, and we'll go over other protocols as we get closer to the season. And Ms. Hackney was at the SAPA meeting virtually on Sunday, and we'll be able, when we talk about competition, to talk more a little bit on the specifics of some of the expectations from SAPA as far as the performers and what's going to look like at the competitions themselves. The next bullet point, I think we talked about already. Just make sure your physical, if you've already turned it in, it's good through the 1st of April, because that gets us through Winter Guard season. That's why I try and push everybody to just do a new physical in the middle of the summer for marching band if they're participating there, because it gets you through all the seasons on one, because it's good for 1 year from the date the doctor signed it. So double check that if you're not sure. The online registration form, which I think most of you probably filled out unless you grabbed the link from the band app or emailed me separately, was completed, so you're good there. That's just to make sure we have up-to-date contact information for you, especially because we're going to have tryouts Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, and we're going to start rehearsals the very next week. So we're going to have to turn around the list pretty quickly so you know to be at practice. And then a payment plan based on the money stuff, which we'll talk in a second, needs to be selected on that form, and deposit paid no later than December 11th to secure your spot. That's actually at the end of the first week of rehearsals. So gives you a little bit of time, and that's why I want to have this meeting pretty far out so you can start getting that together, because it's going to happen kind of quick.
Real quick, Mr. Long, one thing, especially for our middle school folks, and maybe it is really important that that physical be on the actual CCSD form that is on the website, on the Winter Guard website. Even if you've had a physical at your doctor and you have a copy, the county does require that it be completed on our form, which I know can be a little bit of a headache, which is why at the high school level, they've gone to the Canvas portal, which makes it much easier. So if you're not sure if you had a physical or not, just make sure you check that out. It does need to be on our CCSD forms. And if you have that completed, it must be completed prior to that December 2nd date. We've got to have it for them to participate in the audition clinics. So please make sure that you've got that. Middle school students can come see either Miss Bowman or I on the 7th grade. Excuse me, 7th grade hallway, if they have questions or if they want to turn that form in early prior to the audition clinic.
Yeah, and you do need to have the physical and consents and releases packet turned in before you can audition, as well as the CCSD COVID waiver. So those will be things that you need. If you haven't done those already, you go ahead and make sure that you knock those out between now and December 2nd. You can turn those in early. That actually will help us process those because there's a lot of pages to look at. For the high school students, there's a little bit less. I sent an email to check a list for the Canvas card portion, and then you hand us the doctor portion. So that's a little bit quicker to check, but especially our ET booth folks, there's a lot of pages there. As you'll notice when you fill it out, the sooner you can turn that in, the easier it'll be on us to process. Obviously, you'll have to go get a physical if you haven't done that already. And I think the CVS down the street or the Walgreens near us does them for $25 or $50, and it doesn't impact your health insurance. So likely, if you have health insurance and you do a yearly physical, you've probably already done that this year, unless you're at the end of the year like I am. And so you would not necessarily have that going on. And doctor's offices sometimes charge a good bit for those. So that might give you an option for a little cheaper alternative for that. Cool. And we'll have a chance for questions at the end too. And some of y'all are dropping some questions in the chat window also. So I'm trying to make sure we get to those as well. Ms. Hackney, Ms. Page, anything else on that that you can think of?
Not on the
All right.
paperwork piece, no, sir.
Cool. All right, the part that the parents care about the most, how much is this going to cost? Total cost per member for this season for both groups. Again, with it being JV, there are a little more expectations for routine drill to be competitive at that level than the cadet level, as well as there's a few startup things that we've got to do this year that we were going to have to do in the fall that we weren't able to do. For example, for all of our members, the warm-ups we've used in the past are discontinued. They don't offer it anymore. And we really want to make sure we look nice when we go out in public. And the bags we've used before, the girls have told us they're kind of cumbersome to lug around the duffel. And so we talked with Varsity Brands, which outfits cheerleaders and football and everybody else. And we've got a backpack and a pullover that we'll be getting for all the girls and guys on the groups to make sure that we're uniform in that aspect. They're not super cheap, but they're a pretty good price for the quality they are. And is the lady's name Amber? April. My wife's over here. She's a cheer coach. She knows. But April is sending us a sample of the pullover and maybe even a backpack. I can't remember if she was throwing that in the mail for us too, but that's already been shipped. So we'll be able to have a physical one to show you here pretty soon, as well as a digital image. But that'll be included in our fees. So there are a couple of things like that we've got coming up, and we'll talk about that on the next slide too. So a deposit of $100 is due December 11th to secure your spot. Families can pay in full on December 11th. That obviously helps us in startup fees, but not everybody's in a position to be able to do that. Oh, cool. Okay, that's Ms. Hackney. Families can select a payment plan as follows. It's a little bit more monthly deposit for $100 at December 11th. First payment of $165 January 15th and $150 due February 12th to pay off the remainder that month. Families who need a different payment plan can still fill out our family commitment plan. So that's an opportunity if you need to stretch it out, or maybe you have a bonus that comes in every year in March and you just got to get to March and it's going to be able to cover it, just so we have an understanding of when that's going to show up and that you and we are on the same page. Or if you need it to split over more months, say December, January, February, March, April, we can spread that out a little bit more if that will help you as well. You fill that out and tell us what you can manage. And that's kind of an agreement. So again, we know what works for you so that your student can still have 100% access to what's going on. And then the next one is important too. Families in hardship can apply for a scholarship from the EHS Eagle Band Association. It's expected that families participate in volunteer and fundraising opportunities to help the program raise funds for scholarships. I know our discount cards, which we've been selling this fall, have done a really good job, especially in the pandemic. But that fundraiser really helps fill up our bank account so we can offer scholarships, because this activity is not cheap. Color Guard is one of the most expensive pieces of our program because it takes a lot of stuff to do it the right way, from silks to poles to uniforms to just all the different pieces and parts. And that really helps us make sure that that's not a stumbling block for any students. I try and make this as, I guess, upfront as possible. I don't want money to be a stumbling block for a student who wants to participate. If a student wants to be in the color guard or wants to be in the band or the percussion or whatever part of our program, I don't want money to be a reason they can't do it if they really want to. It does mean that we need to be on our game with our fundraising and volunteer help when we do things like host winter guard competitions, which we're looking to try and do again this year. So we can raise money to have money to offer those. But we don't want students turned away just because they can't afford to participate. So please help spread that word. I think sometimes, I know my dad probably would have been in this boat, is too proud to receive help from an organization, even though he might need it. It's okay. Let us help you. Don't have to choose between, food on the table and winter guard. Do them both. Let us help you out with that, because your student will have a great experience, and we don't want to burden your family if that's going to provide a burden there. Obviously, those of you that can't afford it, we need you to pay your spot so we can help those other students. We aren't able to just offer it free to everybody. That would be great, because we probably have a lot more people participate, and we wouldn't have to have this part of the conversation. But there are links to the family commitment plan as well as the scholarship application on the Winter Guard website. You can fill out, and we already have a date here at the very beginning of the season, because I blame myself for this. We've been real late in notifying families about those. So I'm trying to make sure that we get on that early this year, so that if you've got that, or we can work out some kind of thing at the beginning of the season, and you're not waiting around wondering, did I get the scholarship or did I not? Do I need to pay? What's going on? So we're going to try and make sure we knock that out here before we get out for the December break, so we're all on the same page as far as those things go. Regardless of if you're paying in full, using the payment plan, family commitment plan, or scholarship, need to have one of those selected and submitted no later than December 11th, as you see there on the last one. So we know you're committed to participating, and that's once you've been selected. You need to fill that out. So that'll be over the weekend, first of that first week of practices, that needs to get filled out and completed. So let's real quick hit a pause for a couple of questions there, just in case, because that was a lot of talking. Does anybody have any questions about that? You can drop it in the chat and we can address it with everybody.
So Mr. Long, one of the questions that I saw was, will parents be allowed to attend competitions?
Yeah, absolutely. As of right now, obviously we can't predict the future anymore. The future is nebulous. But as of right now, according to what we're working for the show, we should be hosting in March, pending school operations in Cherokee County to give us the green light, which I think is coming pretty soon. Spectators will be allowed in. You'll be temperatures checked and screened as you come in, and only spectators will be allowed in the gym and the performing unit. So you likely will only be able to watch your kid participate and possibly not stick around for any of the other groups, or they may let you stay for a block that your student's participating in, and then they'll have a time where you have to exit in order to clean and sanitize the building just to keep everybody safe. But spectators are going to be allowed in the performing area, even if for a short amount of time, socially distant, masks, and temperature checks.
SAPA did address that yesterday, that they will, for their competitions, there'll be 2 tickets per competition day, a morning and an afternoon session, and your ticket is only good for that session. In the past, our performers, our guard members, once we finish performing or before we perform, we're able to stick around and watch other guards perform without a paid ticket. That will not be allowed this year. So that's the real big change. But parents will be allowed to attend, but you will, just as in years past, you'll still need to purchase a ticket.
One question, sorry.
Mhm.
So, but the students who are performing, are they still getting wristbands? Or how is that? Do you
I think everybody's getting something to show they've been screened.
just for
Yes.
like that? Okay, yeah.
Yeah,
Sorry.
yeah. Because spectators will get a wristband, and that again is to help the host know that they've been checked in
And it's
at
not
competitions.
and it won't be a front side wristband, it'll be a performance wristband
Yeah.
versus, so they won't be, if they want a front side wristband to go watch after we perform, then they will need to purchase that ahead of time on the whatever mobile method they're coming up with.
And
More than
also,
likely GoFan.
somebody just asked if they're going to be required to be wearing masks during performance. I know that, Anissa, you know more about that. So
Yeah,
Yes.
Deanna, can we hit that when we get to competitions? We'll address that in competition. I think during practices, we're going to work to socially distance as much as possible, but much like other athletic teams, basketball and whatnot, we may wear those at times during practice and not at times during practice, depending on what we're doing. But I think the short answer is at competition, SAPA is requiring us to wear them while we perform. So we need to make sure we're comfortable performing with those on. But I think is 100% all the way through practice all the time. I don't think that's a Cherokee County expectation with athletics. If that becomes a Cherokee County expectation, then we would of course follow Cherokee County's guidelines, especially with the things we're seeing right now. Somebody asked about will there be different places we go for competitions? I assume that'd be JV and varsity. And will there be more fees for costumes for the competitions? Our goal is to go to the same place each weekend. It's just a lot to coordinate between the different groups because we just have 2 coaches and 2 sponsors. And it's a long day already, but taking up every single weekend for that is a big ask. So we tend to go to the same place. It just will be at different times on those days. And then will there be more fees for costumes and competitions? The goal is for the fees to be the fees. One of my goals as a program director is to not nickel and dime parents. There may be some odd items that we might need to purchase. I know sometimes a different shade of makeup or whatever might be needed here or there. Ms. Hackney, can you think of anything like that happens?
The only thing would be maybe if they need tights.
I don't, but we'll get, wait, the other slides I think will cover more so that type stuff. Y'all probably won't have to buy any tights, basically.
Yeah, the only thing would, or if they, their own gloves, if they want to buy, weapon gloves, if they're on weapons, those are, purchase on your own. But as far as, there should not be anything additional. Your makeup is your own, you purchase that on your own, your, like I said, tights, maybe your rehearsal wear, a lot of times we require dance, what we call dance blacks, so for certain rehearsals, so that's, black leggings, black shirt, that sort of thing. But it's not a specific one that we say you have to purchase.
I see, says Ansley asked if middle school will be allowed to do weapons or just flags because we're doing JV and varsity. Part of when the fees are going to go to, we'll talk in just a second on the next slide, is we're going to work on weapons for both squads because, again, we want to teach the vocabulary of those so that the varsity guard continues to grow because the better the JV group is, the better the varsity will be and the better the program is. And the cadet thing was great. And is a great tool. One of the things that we saw with limiting that just to ET booth is one, they don't really get an opportunity to move up and challenge themselves. And we did really well the last season or so there. They're kind of stuck in that cadet zone. That allows us to move up a little bit. And it also gives us some more opportunities for our high school students to develop there as well. So it kind of opens that lever for more students to be involved there. So yes, everybody who is doing the things they need to do and ready to go. We're working on buying some more rifles and some more sabers to have available for both squads to spend. And then what month the competitions start? I believe this year is a little bit later, but we can talk about that when we get to the competition slide. Otherwise, we might just kind of circle around for a bit. So we'll come back and address that one. And there's usually 1 to 2 a month, not more. because we throw a Saturday rehearsal in there sometimes as well. So what does my money cover? What's included in my money? And this isn't nickel and dime every single piece that we might purchase, but kind of gets the idea there. Our coaches, Miss Page's time is worth something, and so is our other tech we'll have. We have to pay SAPA, and that actually went up a good bit from last year for the groups. Uniform, it'll be modest to save costs in the pandemic so that we could keep those fees lower, but still do a good job. We're still fleshing out what, the show will be. So some costs for some props that we might need to build, or anything we might need to do as far as our competition floor is concerned, because we march on a tarp. And sometimes they're blank, sometimes they have designs on them. And sometimes we come across really fun ones. Like last year, we were able to get a neat one from Paramount that was kind of space looking, which worked really well with what we were doing. The new warm-up pullover and guard bag for each member of both groups through Varsity Brands. Cost for choreography. Paige has to spend a good bit of time, and she will with the other coach, coming up with what and where they're going to be outside of actual practice for the students. Cost for new flagpoles and materials for them. We're going to try and reuse silks that we already had again to keep costs down, but we have some aging flagpoles just from use. We'll need some more weights for those, and we'll need tape for those, and there's a lot of little things that are needed for that. Like I said, we need for more sabers and rifles. Rifles are kind of moderately priced, and sabers are pretty expensive if you go online and look for those. Cost for music mix we perform to. Sometimes we have to get something custom worked out as far as music goes, and have to pay for that. And some costs with trailer maintenance and things. We have a small trailer that helps get all of our stuff to and from competitions, and we'll need some parents to help with that. We were able to get a small trailer. My two-door Jeep can pull it pretty fully loaded across town. So a minivan or even a smaller truck would be just fine to pull that. It's just a single axle. It's parked outside the band room in the parking lot down there. But we'll need some folks to kind of help pull that to and from events. And those are the basic things that are covered in the fees that we're asking for. Let's see. Are we able to bring home flags and weapons? Once you're selected for the groups, you'll be assigned. So we're not passing around equipment. And you are more than welcome to go home and practice. You take it home every day and work on it. That is a great habit to have. And if you've got your own, it makes it easier, because you said that your mom's got one of each at home, but you just want to make sure with the rifle is the same length and weight, because they make rifles in different sizes depending on what the goal of the activity is and the skill level too. I think Paige World, y'all probably use 36-inch rifles?
Wait, on Paramount World?
Yeah.
Some people use 39, but we are only going to be using 36. But
okay.
It's like the specific brand, because sometimes they just make like the rubber, like the plastic rifles, and they're just like not, yeah. So
So we're trying to make sure we provide it for you. If you want to buy your own because you really enjoy the activity, you just want your own, that's totally fine. And we can help you find those if you don't know where to purchase those. We can help you figure out where to buy those.
I can give the link for Amazon that all the girls and boys have purchased the past couple of years. I'll get that. I don't have it right now, but I'll pull it up.
Okay. That'd be a good thing to just link on the website if you can get it to me.
And also for the middle school folks, when, the transportation of the flag on the bus is going to be something that we'll have to have a conversation when you make the squad, and then or our guard, you'll be able to store those in mine or Miss Bowman's room during the day, and then come get them as you head down to practice on our rehearsal days. So that's not an issue at booth.
Okay.
Any other questions about the money stuff? 'Cause I think the next slide, we're going to turn it over to Miss Page to talk about auditions and rehearsals and competitions. These are all great questions, by the way. Anybody see anything else we didn't touch?
There was a question about practice or competition during winter break in February. Not rehearsal. Traditionally, we don't have rehearsal during our school breaks. There is the possibility, depending on what the competition dates break down to, that maybe one of the Saturdays, either the beginning of the break or the after, may possibly be a competition. We will know that probably
In December.
December.
Yeah.
So
Paige,
you'll
somebody
be
just
able-
asked, can they bring their own flags to audition?
Paige, thoughts on that?
Yes, but I mean, it depends. Like, if you're bringing a flagpole that you just bought and it's not weighted properly, and then you end up making it, and then you end up picking up one of our flags and it's way heavier, and then like you're like, you know what I mean? I think it's your own personal flag is good for you to have at home if you're able to have one and practice with, but it's not necessarily going to be the exact same, because a lot of our flagpoles also have pull tape on it, which makes it even heavier, and the silk weight and all that kind of stuff. I mean, you can bring it to auditions for sure and still like rehearse with it, but just know that it's not going to be the exact same as like if you are trying to toss like a double, you're probably, depending on the weight, you might be able to get that double and make it like a double and a half. But once you pick up one of our flags, it might be like a different story. So it really just depends on what you're comfortable with. And, it's just, everything's always done differently. So yes, is the answer, I guess.
Sounds like you can bring it to auditions, but be prepared to use one of ours if you're
Yes.
selected. So somebody was talking about their child's a digital learner. Just make sure you're really plugged into that band app communication tool, so that you have up-to-date information. Students at school can chat in the hall or between classes, or they'll see each other and can pass information pretty easily. And so we'll make sure to send out that information. Either we'll tell the students at practice, or we'll post something in that app for everybody to have. But sometimes students chat with each other and pass stuff around pretty quick. So I would just encourage you to be connected there. For marching band, we had digital learners participate in marching band with little issue. You definitely need to make sure that you're taking care of your grades and doing the things you need to do for your digital classes. Be aware of how you're coming in, with the ET booth, buses and stuff take up a good bit of that space. It's just making sure you know when and where to be with your car to be safe. So you're not in the way of the buses, getting stuck in the carpool lane and those kinds of things, just so you're on time. And we've been using digital meetings pretty regularly to kind of be easier for our virtual folks. I can't think of anything else we've run into with our digital folks. I do know at rehearsals, much like marching band, we are going to screen students as they come in, and they're expected to self-screen before they show up. So the face-to-face students are supposed to self-screen for COVID before they arrive for school. And so they've already done that before they go to school. So our digital learners will want to self-screen at home. That's to make sure that your temperature is not over 100.3, and a number of other things. You can see those questions on the COVID monitoring forum, which is under the important documents at the bottom of the website, the questions that we'll ask. We'll start off the beginning of the season asking those specifically, and much like marching band was really, really good about checking themselves before showing up. And we've been, knock on wood, we got one more week of, hopefully, of performances and stuff, but done really, really well. If they didn't feel well, they stayed home, as to not put the rest of the group in jeopardy. As we've seen this week at Etowah specifically, just being in close proximity to others can knock out our friends from activities. And so we want to be cognizant of that, both for your safety as well as those around you. It's not something to be terrified about, but it's definitely something to be cautious and be diligent about taking care of you and the people around you as you move about your life. So we'll be doing that. And we did find a way to do attendance through the band app, so that students can answer those screening questions through a check-in system, which we may pilot. I might talk to you about that, Ms. Hackney, see about doing that with indoor groups this year, because your rosters are a little bit smaller. But those are some things for our digital folks, because there's a reason you chose digital. was to put some distance between you and others to stay safe for folks at home who are high risk or other categories. We want to make sure that we provide a safe space for students who want to participate in that. Obviously, that decision is ultimately up with you, the parent, as to whether that's something you're comfortable with or not. We don't want to force anybody who's not comfortable in participating. Please do understand if you choose to sign up for Winter Guard, that space is there, and we're counting on all those folks selected who said, yes, I'm going to do it, to stay for the whole season. We're not going to force you to, but it'll put the group in a tough spot if you decide halfway through the season. We obviously are watching all the COVID stuff as closely as possible all the time. We'll follow whatever the county tells us we have to do and communicate that with you as soon as we know. As a teacher, I think they've been telling us the same time they've been telling parents. So we might find out at the same moment and then have to come up with our plan. But we'll follow the county's guidelines, and they've been great. School operations has done a great job of communicating with us. Dr. Murdoch at the county office, Tanya Sebring, the athletic director from the county, have been great about keeping tabs with us throughout marching band season. And I expect that to continue through winter, because most of those activities are going to be indoors, which will be higher risk for everybody. Alyssa, you might even can bring it in to auditions for Miss Page to take a look at. She's asking about the size and the weight of the poles. The weights, so you could weigh it on a scale, but it's probably more a feel thing from pole to pole and where the weight's at. The length of the rifle, you can probably take a tape measure and go tip to tail, kind of like you would do a fish, and see how long that's going to be. So, but you can probably catch up with Miss Page about that, or probably even maybe one of our upperclassmen could probably help you out with that as well. So
typically
Okay.
the weights in the poles are by inches. So like if you go to like Home Depot or whatever, they have like 1 inch, 2 inch, 3 inch, 4 inch, however much. And typically I believe we do 3 inches on the top and then like 2 or 1 on like the bottom, but it really depends. So whatever you have personally, like I can take a look at it and just feel if it feels right or not whenever you do come to auditions, and I'll let you know if that's like a good piece of equipment to be working with.
but if you can spin it properly, you know the right technique. So then it's just getting the muscle lined up with what's going on is all it really boils down to. So it's not a big thing.
Yeah. Cause the rifle and mom's flag, they were my mom's. So I've used them before because I've wanted to do this for a while. So she taught me a couple things. So I've been used to a couple things with the flag, but I haven't touched the rifle. So
That's
yeah,
awesome.
I might come in with those.
Okay, yeah, bring them in with you, and then they may get you to spin the other two if it's a little bit different. So that'll be really neat to see, though, and that's really cool that you were able to share that with your mom. That's a pretty neat little thing. Awesome. Well, up next is I'm going to turn it over to Paige for a minute because she's going to be running this as the head coach. Ms. Hackney will be there, and Ms. Bowman as well, and our other tech. But how will students be judged and ranked as far as auditions and clinics go? So everybody has correct expectations for what to expect there.
Okay. Hello again. Hi, it's Paige. Hello. Okay, so basically how we will be judging and ranking. I have like a rubric that I've been using since I became the director the year before or whatnot. And basically it has like, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 on like different levels. And the main thing is dance technique, whether or not like you have, the being fluid with like your body movement type thing. And then flag choreo is another really, really big thing. And then also tosses is also another one of the main checklists. And just performance presence, how you carry yourself while you are performing. Like I'll tell you to like be looking up. And if you are like really trying to like connect with the audience, that's also like a really, really big thing that will also help you get on to the team and make the team. But everybody will be learning the exact same audition choreo, and it will have dance at the very beginning and then flag, and it'll all be to the same music. And I'll probably end up switching up everybody between middle school, high school, because we're doing JV and varsity, it's a little bit different than cadets. I'm not going to be necessarily splitting you up between middle school and, so it's going to be a little bit more fluid. So yeah, everybody's going to be required to learn that piece of music or the choreo to that piece of music. Probably on Monday, or it's Wednesday, right? Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. Wednesday we'll be mainly focusing on basic technique with like plies, drop spins, and cone exercises, because I'm like really big into technique. I think that that's like the foundation of everything. I think that's what makes a really, really good guard, is whether or not you can do a really solid technique. That's probably gonna be the first day. And then the second day, we're gonna dip into tosses and then really start learning the choreo a little bit more like into detail. And some of the tosses that are gonna be required are 45s, parallels, and those are just the very basics. They're just singles. And then doubles as well. Stirs, 7 count, pull tosses, which again, if this is like your first time, it's okay. It will have plenty of time to actually go through all this. I know this is probably like, sounds like a different language, but we'll give you plenty of time to learn everything. So those are some of the first things. And then let's see. Number one, my biggest thing is your attitude and whether or not you can work well with others. Even on water breaks, I will be watching you and seeing if you're like interacting and, having like, if another, like connecting with one another is like a huge thing with me. If the guard doesn't really mesh very well, it's kind of a issue with me. Like we all got to be able to work together, get along together, and, be able to boost each other up. So that's one of the biggest things. If you just got to come in with a big smile on your face, even if you're like stressing out, like, oh my God, I don't know how to do this. Like you still just gotta be like, okay, hey, come on, let's like get together. That's like, that goes a long way with me. Even if you are like struggle bussing, if I see you like, hey, I'm struggling, and you're confident enough to go up to somebody, like that means a lot to me personally. And I can definitely see like, a little bit more potential with that. So that's basically how I'm going to be judging and ranking you guys. Well, I don't really like the word rank, but also another thing that was brought up beforehand, questions about the weapon for JV and varsity. This year I want to have like a solid weapon line for the JV as well as the varsity. But in recent years past, we've never really had enough time to actually audition weapons during that very first audition week. So your number one goal during auditions is just to be focusing only on the dance and the flag, because that's what's going to initially get you onto the team. So, but either way, I'm really excited to introduce weapon to the JV, because I think it's going to give a lot of people more opportunities to grow and all this kind of jazz. I'm just really excited about everything. Anyways, so that's pretty much where I'm at with how everything's going to go. Nissa, Stephen, anything? I'm really awkward. Go ahead.
So a couple of questions about, are there going to be students who have never, touched a polar rifle, who haven't spun before? Yes, there definitely will be.
Yes.
We're going to have folks from all different skill levels, because we do have the middle and the high school together. The way that this will work, as Ms. Page said, we'll have 2 days, right, where we learn skills. We're going to start with some of those basic skills, helping you learn what those are, and then teach you some techniques, teach you the routine, and then the final day is that audition that she was referring to. So even though it sounds like a lot of what she's talking about, I'm really kind of talking to our middle school and folks that have not spun before, that's okay. We're not looking for everyone to be, expert world-class skill level at this point, right? That's our goal to work towards for everyone, if that's what you want to do. But don't be intimidated if you've never spun before. We want you to come out, learn a little bit, get to know you, right? As Paige was saying, we spend a lot of time together. We're a band family, right? We're a family. We take care of one another. So it's good to get to know each other, and kind of, don't be nervous if you've not spun before. It's completely fine.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
It's so short. They're also trying to see, as we talked with the percussion students the other day, like winter guard, those that do marching band, winter guard is a much faster activity as far as learning goes. And so seeing how you pick things up in those 2 days is also an important skill, how you deal with quick learning, and how you handle that pressure and that crunch time, because there will be moments where we've got either a long day we've got to get through where there's a lot of material, where we've got a competition the next weekend, we've got to finish up a section of routine or drill. And so there are times where the pace moves pretty quickly in these 2 days, while the skill level on whole will not be as intense as it will be during the season. It is a quick turnaround of retention to see what you're able to accomplish in that time, and how you act during that stressful situation of, we've got to audition on this brand new thing in 2 days. So that's a big part of it as well.
Mm-hmm.
But just because you haven't spun before doesn't mean you can't do it. We've got a lot of folks on our group that came out their first season, auditioned, and have done really, really well. So, and having never done dance before or having never spun before, just coming in super cold. Some people come in with a dance background, and that's great. And some people come in having spun before, that's great too. But it's not the end all be all. So Alyssa, maybe if you can hang tight right after we get finished, and I'll get Miss Page to stick around so you can talk to her just kind of one-on-one for just a minute about your questions. Does that sound like a good plan?
Oh yeah,
And anybody that wants to stick around to hear that, because they can see your questions too, they're welcome to do that. So we'll do that at the end if you don't mind.
Yeah, that's perfect.
Cool. Awesome. You have anything, Paige, Anessa, to add on this one?
Just come out ready to work and have a good time. That's what we like to do.
That's all I really ask for, is just if you show up with a positive attitude and just are willing to work, that's like the main things for me. If I can see that you are, working your hardest and you're putting in that effort. And also, I just want to say with auditions, I don't expect you to have it perfect on like even the third day. Like that would be insane. Like, don't ever think that you have to be perfect. Like, don't ever stress about that. All I want to see is your effort and how far you progress from the very first day that you picked up a flag to the final day during your small groups. Like, it's the little things. So just don't overly stress about anything like that. Like, if you drop a toss during, your actual audition portion, it's okay, because I've been watching you, and if I saw you catch, every other time, and if I've been giving you like corrections and you're actually taking them and you're, applying them, that speaks louder than you maybe accidentally slipping up like a little bit on like a little cone or, something like really small. So just make sure that you guys keep that in mind. Like, I'm not like going to be super strict. I'm just going to be very observant, and I'm going to take into account that, again, it's only like a 2-day learning thing, and then you guys are kind of thrown into it. So just understand that it's going to be a little bit less stressful than I think you guys are going to think that it's going to be, if that makes sense. I don't know.
But at the same time, your high school, middle school students, you're going to be stressed no matter how much we tell you to not be stressed. So
yeah,
in the same vein, take a deep breath and do your best. Your best is all anybody can ever ask of you. That's why I try and teach the students that I work with. So what to expect at rehearsals themselves. Paige and Anessa can probably talk about this actually, because they're both around for these.
Mm-hmm. So my first thing is just, again, showing up positive attitude and ready to work. Another thing that I had put down was I want you guys to be prepared for every rehearsal is always going to be a little bit different, especially with the whole COVID and everything. It's all, this whole season's just going to be a different experience than what we've ever dealt with before, that I've ever dealt with before, that literally anybody's ever dealt with before. So it's gonna be a learning process. So we just need to all, be flexible with how it's going to work out. But either way, if like, if I teach like choreo on a Tuesday one week, and then the next Thursday we move on to drill, I still expect you to go home and practice that Tuesday choreo. And even if we don't even touch it on that Thursday, this is like a big thing that I'm sure all of my girls and boys that I've ever taught, like they get kind of sidetracked by what we move on to the next time, because I'm trying to give you all time on your own to come back more prepared. especially with COVID, I need you guys to like really just, a lot of the rehearsal time is going to be outside. You know, we're only going to have a certain amount of time to teach choreo. So it might get not like necessarily like intense, but it, you know, we only have a certain amount of time. And if I teach some choreo, blah, blah, and then like we don't touch it for like 2 weeks, I expect you guys to come back and still know it. So basically just practicing outside and making sure that you guys are still continuing to grow. And even the technique, if I teach, most likely the first few weeks is going to be just technique and just a little bit of drill. And then it's going to slowly increase up and get more difficult. You'll have to, it's just like studying for exams. At the very beginning of the school year, you know, it's gonna, you know, baby steps, and then it's gonna be a little bit more intense. I just need you guys to really try and stay on top of that. As well as, you know, having the ability to learn drill quickly. And, you know, if anybody's ever worked with me, y'all know whenever I write drill, I go a little bit, you know, I'm very creative and I have a lot of different ideas. And sometimes I look at it for like 2 weeks and I'm like, that's no, like, you know what I mean? I know Anissa, you could probably defend me.
What Paige is saying is she is creative. And so she will look at something and she'll have the guard learn it. And then after watching it for 2 weeks, she'll be like, well, they could do more because they're good enough that they can take that up the next notch. Or, oh, that doesn't really fit in the show. Not that the guard isn't doing well, that it's the drill itself. So
yeah,
that's, I think, would that be a good way to say that, Paige?
Yes.
Right? You know,
sorry.
yeah. You know, it changes it a little bit. You know, as far as rehearsal, you know, we expect you to come ready to work, especially, you know, be there dressed, ready to go, have your water, you know, restroom, snack, whatever you need. In band, we have a saying, an expectation that early is on time is late. And that goes over into guard as well. So if rehearsal starts at 4:30, that doesn't mean you roll in the parking lot at 4:30. You know, you're in the cafeteria, stretching, getting ready to go, have your equipment, you know, everything that you need so that we can literally start rehearsal, because we do have such a short amount of time. For my veterans that have been here or that have done guard with us before, it is going to be a little different because of our COVID safety protocols. So there are going to be some things that might look different, you know, and that Ms. Paige and the rest of the staff and I will, you know, help address and navigate. But, you know, we take, you know, some water breaks, obviously rest breaks as well. But we come in, we really push ourselves for those 2 hours, and then, you know, learn what we can learn and then go home. You work on it yourself, and then we come back. We practice again 2 days a week. Our JV will go first. We'll have a quick 15-minute turnover break, and then we'll get started with our varsity folks.
Also, another thing to also with like rehearsals is in wintertime, we have floors that we pull out. And because of drill and whatnot, we, like what she had just said about showing up, like if rehearsal starts at 4:30, you need to be there before 4:30. And I know that some of the middle schoolers, y'all get out at like, I think 4:15-ish. Mm-hmm. But in the past, even though y'all are like getting out of class and starting to walk at 4:15, y'all have been able to be completely ready, fully dressed, already have the floor pulled out, already rehearsing by like 4:20, like 2 or 20, like before 4:25. And then I'm like walking in and I'm like, oh yeah, woohoo, like we're all ready to go. So y'all also need to take into account the amount of time that it's going to take for you guys to dress. Also slick back hair. One of my biggest pet peeves is whenever y'all have like hair in your face and y'all are like trying to like spin like this. And I'm like, how do you see like that? Like, it's like, oh yeah, I'm going to catch it. Like, no, put your hair in, like, just slick it back. I don't even care how it's put back. You can put it in braids, whatever. Get out of your face. No jewelry, no gum, just because that's like a big safety thing. If you have hoop earrings on and if a pole accidentally or a saber, man, it could rip. It's just not good. But yeah, and then just giving plenty of time to pull out the floor, because the floors are very heavy. They're extremely heavy. They're like several hundred pounds, I would assume, right? Wouldn't you agree? They're a lot, so they're going to take some time, and yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, they're 300 to 400 pounds at least, depending on if they're painted or screen printed floors, and takes everybody to lift those jokers up. You can ask Mr. Hackney about that.
He's got a nice scar on his arm for that.
He was Mr. Marine and picked it up when he shouldn't have by himself. So.
Oh wait, I remember that day. I was like, why?
Yeah.
Also, another thing to take note of, this also goes for competitions as well, is we rehearse and we perform barefoot. So whenever you're rehearsing on the floor, performing on the floor, you're not allowed to have tennis shoes on. You're allowed to practice with socks, but it's a different feeling. So I'd much rather you guys just do it barefoot. And there's also like different types of like these little like bear claw, like little toe things that I personally use from like dance stores that'll help out with like calluses on like your feet. And then also rehearsal attire. I think that just in general, since I've become the director, it's kind of slowly creeped into it. And I really like this. At least once a week, we'll most likely be having an all blacks rehearsal. That means like black shorts, black pants, plain black top, just for drill purposes, and also just clean lines. So if I'm trying to like clean choreo, but somebody's wearing like a neon pink sweatshirt and the other one's wearing like neon yellow, I don't know, like leggings, it's very distracting. So probably either Monday or Wednesday will be in all blacks. And just in general for the entire season, even at competitions, and I preach this a lot, always have an extra pair of nice dance blacks, just in case somebody's costume rips and we don't have an extra top, or, you know, something, you know, just always plan for like the worst. So just be prepared. Again, it's not something that you guys need to go out and buy. Like, I'm sure you guys could probably get like a black t-shirt that might even have like a logo, put it inside out. I don't care what type of shirt it is, as long as it's just plain black. And then I'm sure everybody owns like black leggings. So that would be like another thing. And then, yeah, every rehearsal, just bring definitely some water and possibly a snack as well. Because sometimes we'll have like 10-minute breaks, and I'll let you guys like, you know, take like a second and do all that kind of stuff. I don't know. What else do you have to say?
I think that's probably a good field rehearsal. Yeah. Any of veterans on here, anything we're missing that you think our newbies need? Parents, our rehearsals are closed rehearsals, but this year, especially with our COVID protocols, it's going to be even more important that that we do maintain that's, you know, again, performer safety. So it's for the safety of your kiddos. So when you arrive, pick up your kids. If you just hang out in the car, once we're done, we'll send them out for you guys, especially like our middle school parents. I know that's a little bit of an adjustment sometimes, is the closed rehearsal piece. So, and as soon as we can do any sort of, you know, exhibition for families, we definitely will open that up. But I know for marching band, we've not been able to due to our COVID protocols. So again, flexibility is huge. We try to post as many videos and, you know, photos and things as we can, you know, within our safety protocols. Our band app is a great place. So if you're, you know, once you are selected to be on the guard, definitely both parents and our guard members get involved on that band app.
We talked a little bit earlier about screening folks on the way in and out as part of the COVID protocol. For eating snacks and stuff, we'll probably utilize a hallway next to the cafeteria so as to keep our performance space safe, because you do have some water droplets pop out when you eat that you don't when you're just sitting there with your mouth closed. So we want to maintain that clean space inside the either the cafeteria or the gym, which is one reason why we had to move to Monday and Wednesdays, is they were trying to limit the number of personnel on campus each day of the week to make sure that ET booth was staying safe and clean. They've been doing a really, really great job over there during the pandemic to minimize COVID impact. And there are some times where we'll be able to hop over into the gym for some rehearsals because we're on those Mondays and Wednesdays. So there's some extra bonuses to that also. Because of COVID, JV will have to clear the space and varsity will have to come in. Like, they won't be able to be in the same space at the same time. That's also to make sure that if for some reason something on the JV or the whole team needed to get quarantined, it didn't knock out the varsity also, and vice versa. so we limit the impact on the whole program in case something were to happen. So unfortunately not. But again, like Ms. Hackney said, we're going to try and post videos and pictures and things on the app because it is a benefit to JV to see varsity work. And it was good to have varsities hang around and support the JV as well and encourage them in their work. So we just have to be creative in our approach for things like that this year, both for parents and for students.
And it is our first pandemic.
It is. I'm really tired of saying that. Like I told the kids today, I'm tired of talking about all this mess. I just want to do things like I know the kids want to. So in the interest of time, let's move to, I think this is our last one. Yeah. And then we'll open back up for questions. So how do competitions work? I may let Ms. Hackney kind of lead this one. Paige can talk about the performer side of things because Ms. Hackney was at the meeting on Sunday and it's got all the juicy details. So I kind of I guess a Cliff Notes version of it for tonight because we're already over our hour by a good bit.
You got it. Go for it.
So in the past, we usually do anywhere from 3 to 4 competitions a year plus SAPA championships. We start competing in late January, early February, and we culminate usually in Chattanooga the last weekend in March. I can't think of a better way to celebrate my birthday every year than with our kiddos at championships. However, COVID, thanks so much. Things are going to be different. We can choose 3 competitions that we will be going to, and then there will be a championship competition, but it will be in Georgia versus in Chattanooga with a location to be determined. In the years past, our usually cadets would perform in the morning in the cadet class. Our varsity folks would come help the cadets pull the floor, help them get ready, help them warm up. Parents, one thing that is different about GARD as far as competitions is transportation. You are required to provide transportation to the competition site. One of the competitions that I know that we will be doing will be our own, which is March, hopefully 13th, there at Etowah. So you'd be responsible for bringing your student to Etowah. Other locations in the past, we've gone to Kell, we've gone to, help me out folks, with the one over.
Well, there's McEachern's, there's Mill Creek, not middle school, but Mill Creek High School over on the other side of Atlanta.
Sometimes we also go to River Ridge as well.
And River Ridge is working on hosting one too. We try and keep travel as short as possible, but we also want a good competition. And we also want the competition spaced out enough that students have an opportunity to clean and get better instead of just boom, 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 boom on the season. Yeah, Kennesaw Mountain.
That's always a good one.
And so you'll know in plenty of time, and like I said, in December, we'll go ahead and select our competitions. We'll get those out to you. Parents, you'll bring your student to the competition. This year, what is different is that there will not be a space for us to kind of come get ready, mentally and physically prepare. There is no holding space. In the past, if we competed at 11, we would have our guard show up at 9. We would run through some things, then change into our uniform or costume, put on our hair, do our makeup, all of those sort of things we would do all right there together as a guard, and then go to warm-ups and then go to performance. This year, because of COVID protocols, we are required to show up ready to go. We're all required to show up at the same time. JV will only be allowed their 90 minutes of check-in, warm-up, performance, out.
They are still going through body and then separate, and then technically, okay, good. Sorry.
Yeah, you're still having all the same warm-ups we normally get, but instead of having that holding area where we get ready, we're literally checking in, moving straight through to warm-ups. So that's going to be a little bit different as well this year. Competitions are going to be limited to groups. In the past, it's been up to 60 groups. They're limiting them to 40 for face-to-face. And then other than that, it's really just kind of going to be the similar as far as for us as performers. We'll warm up, we'll go out, we'll perform, and then we'll leave. There will not be a retreat. For those of you that are new to Color Guard or Winter Guard especially, at the end of the competition, all of the guards would come out, representatives would line up on the floor, and then the awards would be announced by category. So we would, at the end of the day, determine, how our groups did. We're not having a retreat. They'll be announcing those virtually, meaning they'll just let the directors know where we ended up on that. They're also offering, our circuit is offering a virtual competition for groups who are unable to compete face-to-face. But a guard must declare at the beginning of the season one method or another. You can't say, well, this week I want to be virtual, whereas last week I was face-to-face. So we can't flip-flop back and through that. Etowah, barring any restrictions from CCSD, we're looking to do face-to-face competitions. There are a lot of safety protocols that SAPA has put in place in addition to safety from the host school as well. So SAPA has some requirements, and then the host school may have additional requirements. The biggest requirement that I saw will be the requirement of masks for all staff and performers at all times while we're performing and while we're in warm-ups and all of that. Spectators also as well would be able to must wear a mask when they come in. We'll all be, screened and temperature checked and all of that prior to the competitions. Again, that performer safety is the utmost priority of SAPA, as well as safety of the host schools as well when we get ready to host. I think that's really the big thing as far as that goes. So parents will be allowed to purchase tickets. There'll be maximum amounts for each competition, obviously for safety, just like we have for football at Etowah or basketball. So each host site will have a minimum, I'm sorry, I keep saying minimum, a maximum amount of tickets that will be able to be sold. And we'll also know our performance time. Usually they've posted it a week to 2 weeks ahead as far as what our actual slot would be. SAPA says that's still the intention at this point. So if you get a wristband, say we perform in the morning session and parents wanted to come and watch, you would purchase your wristband on, they're looking to use GoFan, or the same site that we use for our football tickets at Etowah. But more information to follow on that, but it'd be something similar. You would purchase your ticket online, you would show up and allow and come in and watch those shows. Dina's asking about, are they showing the competition online? At this time, there is not discussion of that. A lot of that probably has to do with copyright, as well as, just some of that, the legalities of, all of those different performers, and streaming that.
And
But
also
mostly
typically during a normal season as well, you're only allowed like one, I think, person that's like allowed to actually record your performance. Because, people can all these other type things can happen. So I wouldn't really know if you would be allowed to.
We also may, Deanna, we also may look, because the band app will let us live stream. So I may show Anessa or Angela or Bethany or somebody, or show somebody in the stands and give them the rights on that group on how to live stream. So we may just do it ourselves to work our way around that. The seating capacity is obviously limited by the venue itself. Our gym, I think, seats maximum 500 people on both sides, socially distant at 25%. Some counties, I think Forsyth's been using a higher percentage per venue than Cherokee has. Some places are using smaller. So that's where the variety in seats comes from. You may we'll know, like the JV folks will typically be earlier in the day. So those parents may know to go ahead and buy the early day tickets, even if we don't have a specific time. And then depending on when the varsity group performs in relation to others, either in the morning, or I think it was even becoming a little bit more of the early afternoon, like real early in the second half of the day, we'll know that there at least by the first competition, kind of where that lines out. And we can always ask SAPA to at least give us an idea of AM, PM, so that parents can purchase those tickets ahead, because it'll potentially could be like football where everybody's scrambling to get those. But we can try and cheat the system a little bit, at least for our kids, and do some kind of live stream on the band app and get somebody involved and help them be our videographer from their seat at least, so you can see more than nothing.
One of the questions that I posed to SAPO was a timed ticket. So if your group is performing at 11, you get a ticket that's from 11 to 1, and or 10 to 12 or something, so that you can, again, like, I don't need a whole session ticket if my group is only performing for 10 minutes at 11:10, right? I may not want to stay for the whole thing. I just want to come see my kid perform. So they thought that was an interesting idea, would investigate the feasibility of pulling that off. Not a guarantee, but I at least asked the question. And that was the big thing, as far as that it really applies to this meeting. That's kind of the big thing, is that we will choose 3 competitions. If something comes up and we need to cancel, or it's canceled as soon as we know, we'll be able to reschedule to a different date if need be, that sort of thing. There are some caveats in this year that aren't normally there for our groups. But as soon as we have information, I do work really hard to make sure I pass as much information to parents, whether it's through email or whether it's the band app this year, now that we have the band app. So that's going to be a huge thing.
Cool. Well, we're kind of doing questions already, so let's just kind of open it up for any other questions people might have. And if you're satisfied and good, we're a half hour over where our goal was, so we understand if you've got to head out, and you of course can find this on the website tomorrow if you want to check in with the end of the meeting and just see what you might have missed. You can always email Ms. Hackney, Ms. Bowman, or myself. Our Etowah presidents are also guard mamas, and so they're involved in the activity alongside you. And if you're looking for Ms. Hackney, you can email our school address, or you can email Etowah assistant band director at gmail.com. She has the longest email address. I think she wins that prize. And then the band presidents use the same one, and that's Etowah band president at gmail.com. And that gets Angela and Bethany, or Beth Angela for those who know them well.
Somebody's mom.
And they can help fill in some information there too, or pass along something if they're not sure to us to answer for you as well.
Can I just clarify something super duper quick?
Mhm.
I just wanted to restate, whenever I'm writing drill and whenever I'm writing choreo this season, I'm going to be keeping COVID in mind, #1. So I'm not going to be having anybody, I just want to put this out there, no partner work, nobody's going to be super close. Like, I want them as far apart as possible. So if anybody's concern is that, I'm just letting you know, even if like rehearsals, they're a little bit more relaxed and like competition, like last thing I want is, people to be infecting one another. So I just really wanted to say that. And then also, between the JV and varsity, because we are opening up the age range, I just wanted to say that I'm mainly basing it off of skill level and people's consistency with specific skills. So I just wanted to, state that out loud again, the big things that, I felt like I just needed to restate. And also for each guard, I don't think that we are going to be accepting over 18 for each guard, correct? Okay, I just wanted to clarify that as well.
I think that's what we'd already told folks, and that also helps us with the COVID side of things too.
Yeah. Okay, cool. Just
somebody asked, practices are indeed on Monday and Wednesdays, which is different than years prior. Again, that got moved for both gym space at ET booth, as well as just trying to limit numbers on campus. So that's Monday and Wednesdays. And let's see, tryouts, the clinic days are December 2nd and 3rd, where you'll learn all the stuff. And then that Friday are tryouts. And once you're finished with your tryout, because they'll be in smaller groups so that the coaches and folks can see a little bit better individually, you're free to leave. And then with the COVID going on, it's a good idea to go ahead and go home once you're finished. That will usually takes a couple hours to happen anyway. But sometimes they'll have groups come in one more time or something just to see how that goes. We won't have an opportunity to like mix groups together, obviously, because of COVID. We don't want to invite any issues there. So just kind of give you an idea how that'll happen on Friday. That's a much more ambiguous pickup time, but usually takes a couple hours at least to get through that, to make sure we give everybody a good look with their routines. And are you able to wear glasses at rehearsals and competitions? Yeah, you just want to make sure, like, as you're doing the routine, the dance stuff, that your glasses don't fly off your face. They make different athletic straps you can put. Because I wear glasses, I wear contacts most of the time now because I got so frustrated with my mask fogging up my glasses. But just remember, this year with the glasses and stuff, you'll have your glasses as well as a mask on. So the trick's going to be to still be able to see and not fog it up as you go.
Yeah, I've marched actually with a few people that have been wearing glasses only in rehearsals, but then for competitions especially, they put on contacts. So if like you're not like a really big contact wearer, I would suggest it just for competition. So it's not like another worry. And plus with the mask, like the whole, yeah.
But it's not required. Not required. Deanna, that's a really great question with a quick turnaround to rehearsal on Monday. You need to know if you have practice after school or not. Our goal is going to be to release the rosters Saturday or real early Sunday morning. We do need a chance to kind of live on it for the night, Friday night, and make sure that that's right. So we get it right. We don't send it out too early, but we know we need to give parents an opportunity to plan for the rehearsals and the money and all the things. So we'll shoot for Saturday after, so that's December 5th, or real early Sunday morning. So you've got all day Sunday to go through that.
And it'll be usually we do an email as well as post on that band app.
Yep.
That's good, because if I get on, that's the day of my birthday. That's a good birthday present for me.
There you go. Cool. Other questions?
And if you think of a question after tonight, you know, it is a lot to process, especially if you're new to our GUARD program. Feel free, please don't hesitate to email myself or Mr. Long or Ms. Bowman. We'll be more than happy to answer any questions that may pop up. I'd rather you ask the question than just sit, wonder, or not show up because you weren't sure.
Yeah, like I tell the marching band folks, no dumb questions, only the ones you don't ask. I've been doing this for a long time. Paige has been doing this for a long time. Ms. Hackney's getting super comfortable with it because she's been helping for a couple of years now with the GUARD stuff. And so we may toss a word around and you're like, what does that mean? Just go ahead and ask. And the upperclassmen are real helpful for that. And again, the band app is a great place to drop a quick question. It's better to know and be sure about an answer than to just kind of guess or not know.
Ms. Hackney,
Yes.
Real quick question. You stated something about Chattanooga, and was that the end of April or the end of March?
It's usually the end of March, but we will not be going to Chattanooga this year. Our championships will be at a location within Georgia.
Okay.
Because with COVID restriction, most school districts are not allowing out-of-state travel.
Yeah,
so well, that's basically the end of the season is the end of March.
Correct. Yes, ma'am.
Perfect. Okay, thank you so much for clarifying.
I do have one quick question. I've seen in like YouTube videos where for flag routines, they have different flags. Will that be like a part of my other question with like costume fees? How will we get like the different flags? Will you just, is there a way to like
yeah, so the way that I'm designing the shows is there's most likely going to be like a flag line type thing where there's gonna be like a few people that are gonna be on flag line and a few people that are gonna be on dance line. And then now with JV as well, and this goes for every group every year, there's always like a few different sections and they're never necessarily, just sanctioned off to that specific thing. But yeah, so we typically start off with like a small group of specific flags with like one exact silk fabric design, whatever, and then we will move on to a full flag feature where everybody will always be spinning a flag no matter what, at least from like the mid to end. So
but we provide those for you. You don't have to go buy those. That's part of your fees.
Yes.
And then of course like sabers and rifles are the same, right?
We provide the sabers and the rifles.
Have those.
Yes.
We'll have those. Well,
Yeah.
if you want to buy your own, you can. But especially as you're getting started, that's a pretty big cost.
That's a commitment.
So we'll have those. We just ask you to take care of them.
Okay, that's perfect.
I like your attitude. You're like, that's perfect. Alrighty, here we go. I love that.
Yeah, my mom in ROTC as well, so I'm kind of been looking forward to this for a while.
Good.
That's awesome. All right, other questions before we knock off? Again, if you have one you didn't think of or didn't get answered, you're welcome to email us too.
And
All
also,
right.
if your friends weren't able to come tonight, you can still invite them to still come to auditions. Invite all of your friends. The
Just
more, the
make sure they have their
merrier.
physical paperwork.
Yes.
Yeah, I gotta have the
make-
physical paperwork ahead of time. So
all of that too, but like, come on, everybody.
it's a great time. I would encourage you type in WGI Winter Guard into YouTube and just go watch some shows. It'll get you pumped. You can go pick on Miss Page and watch some of the Paramount shows the last couple of years. They've been really good anyway to see. There's a lot of other great groups, and I'm sure our upperclassmen can get you turned on to some great Winter Guards as well. So with that, I think Alyssa had a question for Miss Page that will stick around after we turn the recording off, just to make sure that gets answered for her before she leaves. If you want to hang around to listen to that answer, we'll keep it real brief, but I want to make sure those of y'all that have hung with us now for an hour and 40 minutes, we appreciate your time. We just want to make sure we were good and thorough for everybody, and we'll post this if you need to reference this at all. The PowerPoint we used tonight is already linked there at the bottom of the page underneath registration. If you want to check that PowerPoint out again for some of those details, especially money due dates, and practice dates and all that kind of stuff. So I appreciate everybody so much for coming to the meeting tonight. This has been, I think, a good positive from COVID. It makes it a little bit easier, and you can sit in your pajamas at home and watch a meeting or whatever you might need to do. A little more comfortable atmosphere than having to drive up to the school on a night when you need to do something else. So I appreciate y'all's time very much. And we look forward to seeing y'all at tryouts December 2nd.
Yay!
See ya.
I'll be
those of
hanging
you-
around for any questions if y'all want to ask